Thank you for joining us here tonight at 10. I'm Tabitha Bland. New at 10 tonight, a Deforest Village board member is under scrutiny from the community, and a push for a recall election to replace his spot is underway. A petition to hold the recall election just reached the amount of signatures needed to move forward. WMTV's Sam Swartz talked to the man behind the petition and also heard from the man it's all about.
This is holding your leadership in your community to account.
A recall effort in Deforest is picking up steam.
To be professionals, to be ethical, and to be mindful of what their community expects them to do.
Over the last couple of months,
we had a great group of volunteers.
Mark Stork and his team have been collecting hundreds of signatures with the goal of recalling Village Board member Bill Landgraf.
We knocked on a lot of doors.
WMTV reached out to Landgraf for his reaction to the recall. In an email, Landgraf said, in part, he will continue to act in the best interests of Deforest residents, not what outsiders think or want. Stork said he filed an open records request with the Deforest Police Department, hoping to learn more about Landgraf.
There were over 40 complaints of individuals that had put in complaints about Bill.
Landgraf also told WMTV that he looks forward to defending his record on the board and the attacks on his character by what he calls anonymous social media warriors. But the accusations were a tipping point for Stork.
That someone in a position of that authority would be seen as a threat by the community.
Which brings us to now, a recall petition with 1,500 signatures from community members looking for change.
This was our chance to say, yes, we actually can make change, because this is change for the better.
In Deforest, Sam Swartz, WMTV 15 News.
Now, village staff will have 30 days to verify the signatures, and once those are verified, a special election would be held 60 days later.